other challenges.
That report co-written by like a whole bunch of people who've been on the pollsters, by the way.
Yes. So this year there were a ton of interesting papers presented. One by some strategists. So Kevin Collins, like there were a couple folks from the left side of the aisle who presented a really interesting paper on. And I'm going to butcher my description of this, but it's like a new thing called Earth. It's new in political science and polling called Earth mover distance. It's a computer science concept, but basically it's about figuring out like how far does something deviate from what you would expect. So if you plot out the age by party breakdown of your survey, and you look at a chart of it, and then you look at a chart of what it should be based on what we know from, broader population levels. How far away does your distribution bend? The idea is, right now we figure out, is there bias in a sample, kind of looking at things like one variable at a time, right? Do you have too many Democrats? Do you have too few young people? Do you have too few people with a college education? What they're suggesting is that actually it's the interaction of variables that matters more. So you can have a sample that has the right number of Republicans and the right number of old people, but all your old people might be Democrats and all your young people might be Republicans. And so if you just look at one variable, your poll looks fine. But if you look at the relationship between the variables, it would be clear that your poll is massively not right.
Right.
So I'm probably butchering this concept. I'm trying to make it as consumable as possible for our super polling nerd listeners.
So that's a weighting based on what the individual
it's
demographic.
It's not necessarily about weighting so much as a measure of whether your sample is representative enough. And they took about 15 different polls where the data sets were publicly available and looked at all of them, like all of their cases, age by party, to see how they all looked. And some of the panels, like Pew's American Trends panel, they have a very different political makeup of their young sample than like a SurveyMonkey survey or a YouGov survey. It's kind of neat being someone who studies a lot of what do young people's political views look like. I mean, which panel you choose is in some ways going to give you a different answer just because the party makeup of their samples is a little different based on age. So the other papers that were interesting, Anthony Salvanto and his colleagues at CBS have done a cool